Hello everyone, welcome back to another brand new video, and today's video is going to be a fun one. Today marks the beginning of a brand new series that I want to start doing on this channel, that being What If. I will be going through both Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan, presenting what if scenarios and running through them with you all. I plan on releasing 12 videos which will make up my season 1, 6 for JJK and 6 for AOT. I'm going to be releasing these series sporadically and at my own pace. And, side note, if you guys have a topic you'd like me to cover in the series, go ahead and comment down below, and if it's good enough, it might just make it into season 1. Today's episode is going to be what if the Kyoto school students were at Shibuya instead of the Tokyo school students. And before we start, I do want to let you know that there are manga spoilers ahead, so watch at your own risk. But anyways, let's jump right in. Okay, so let's set the stage. To make this work, Mechamaru has to stay dead. It is kind of impossible to have him be in Shibuya because of his whole plan with Mahito and Kenjaku, so Mechamaru will stay dead, but his drones will still be appearing throughout, just like how it played out originally. Next up, I basically just swapped out each Tokyo student with the Kyoto student of my choice. Yuji becomes Todo, Megumi becomes Kamo, Nobara becomes Momo, Maki becomes Mai, and Panda becomes Miwa. Inumaki was also at Shibuya, but he never really fights anything and is a non-factor for this scenario, but if you really want to, we could just swap him out with Arata. Next, let's look at the starting groups for Shibuya as we've made some changes. Team Nanami is Nanami himself, Kamo, Ino, and Ijichi. Team Naobito is Naobito, Mai, Momo, Akari, and Naoya. I decided to throw Naoya into Shibuya to make some things interesting later on, but trust me, him being here does not take away from the original Kyoto Kids' focus of the scenario. Team Meimei is of course Meimei, Wiwi, and Todo, and our final team, Team Kusakabe, is Kusakabe, and our queen, Useless Miwa. Another interesting thing to note here is that at Shoko's healing station, Utahime and Gakuganji will be joining her instead of Tokyo's Masamichi Yaga. And now that the stage is set, we can run through the scenario. Shibuya begins as normal, with Veils trapping in fellow citizens of Shibuya as they clamor for the arrival of the one Satoru Gojo. Gojo arrives and everything plays out as normal here. Gojo heads down into the station to find Jogo, Hanami, and Choso. Team Meimei proceeds as regular here as well, with Meimei and Wiwi taking care of the transfigured humans, leaving Todo to fight the Grasshopper Curse. Todo should take this fight with ease, using his Boogie Woogie technique and strong physical attacks to easily overwhelm and defeat the curse. After destroying the Veil, Todo reunites with Meimei and Wiwi, where they fail to find Mahito or his posse of transfigured humans. Meanwhile, Gojo continues the fight against Jogo, Hanami, and Choso. All that the curses need to do is stall out Gojo for 20 minutes, allowing Kenjaku to prepare the prison realm. After Gojo obliterates Hanami, he turns his attention to Jogo, that is, until Mahito and his train full of transfigured humans arrive. Gojo pulls the ultimate gamble, a 0.2 second domain expansion, hoping it will give him enough time to wipe out the transfigured humans without any long-lasting damages for the civilians trapped in the subway. The gamble works, and Gojo mows through the room of transfigured humans, and 1,000 transfigured humans later, Kenjaku arrives and catches Gojo off guard. Gojo sees Kenjaku and the memories of Geto come flying back. This hesitation is enough for the prison realm to activate, trapping Satoru Gojo. Mechamaru's drone witnesses everything and he heads to Todo to alert him of the situation. Mechamaru alerts Team Meimei of the situation and they come up with the plan. Meimei and Wiwi continue down the subway while Todo will head up to try and alert the other teams of the situation at hand. After making it to the top of the tower, Todo calls out to the other teams. Nanami team hears Todo's screams and makes it priority number 1 to find Todo and come up with a plan. While this is happening, Haruta sneaks up on Ijichi and stabs him in the back, taking him out of action. Haruta is on a mission to take out all of the managers, and Akari is next on that list. Another Mechamaru drone reaches Team Naobito. Mechamaru tells Momo to go tell the other teams of the situation as well, because Momo can make use of her flying technique to get around and spread the word quickly, and Momo sets off to alert the others. Team Nanami finds Todo and they come up with their plan. Nanami plans to head back and meet with Ijichi while he sends Todo, Kamo, and Ino to destroy the Veil. Todo, Kamo, and Ino reach the Veil and attempt to destroy it with force. Momo suddenly arrives and attempts to inform them of the situation. The group tells Momo that they're already aware, but that's when Todo realizes that the people who made the Veil are probably atop of Shibuya Sea Tower. Todo asks Momo for her brief help before she leaves to go tell the others. Atop of Shibuya Sea Tower, we see Ogami, her grandson, and Awasaka. Momo flies to the top of the tower, lands, and we hear a distant clap. Todo appears in Momo's place, using Boogie Woogie to swap with her. Momo flies to the top of the tower yet again, Todo claps, and Ino appears in her place. At this point, Ogami begins her seance, whilst Awasaka and Ogami's grandson begin their counterattack. Momo lands atop the tower a third time, and wishes the team good luck before Todo claps her away, Kamo now in her place. Todo immediately Boogie Woogies his way to Ogami and stops her seance by force. Ino uses his Auspicious Beast technique to battle with Ogami's grandson, while Kamo uses Flowing Red Scale in an attempt to beat Awasaka quickly. After Todo disposes of Ogami, he realizes that Kamo is struggling to attain any real damage against Awasaka. Todo figures out rather quickly that Awasaka's technique is inverse, and he and Kamo gameplan accordingly. With the newfound knowledge of his technique, Todo and Kamo mix in strong and weak attacks to defeat Awasaka. They then destroy the Veil and go on their way to help Ino. The three blitz Ogami's grandson together, and they defeat him easily, the numbers advantage being just too much. Todo realizes the rest of the building is filled with transfigured humans, and that's their only way down. Todo tells them he can Boogie Woogie himself to the bottom of the building using the transfigured humans, and then head to reunite with Nanami. Kamo and Ino can clear the transfigured humans out once Todo reaches the bottom, and then head to Shoko's healing station to inform her, Utahime, and Gakuganji of Gojo's current fate. While Todo makes his way down the building using Boogie Woogie, we check back in with Team Naobito. Momo has made her way back to her team, having informed both Team Nanami and Team Kusakabe. Akari then tells the team that she fears Ijichi may be in danger due to the abrupt end of their phone call. Momo tells her that she'll escort her to Ijichi, splitting up from Naobito, Naoya, and Mai. During this time, however, Nanami finds Ijichi's body and heads off to take him to Shoko before reuniting with the other sorcerers. While on their way to find Ijichi, Momo and Akari run into Haruta, the culprit of Ijichi's stabbing. Momo tells Akari to run and prepares to fight Haruta. Haruta lets his sword go and it starts pursuing Akari, while Haruta himself stays and taunts Momo. Haruta explains that it's not really that fair that Momo gets to hang out in the air and fly. During all this, Haruta's sword catches up to Akari and takes her down. Momo realizes Haruta's taunting was his way of stalling for his sword to grab Akari, and to add on to that, Momo now has to go inside of the station to help Akari, limiting her mobility and technique. Haruta playfully chases after Momo as she enters the station to help Akari. As Momo enters the building, Haruta's sword jumps up and grabs Momo's broom, momentarily bringing it down long enough for Haruta to pounce and land a devastating punch onto Momo. Haruta flaunts his win and begins a victory speech to Momo and Akari when Nanami enters the station. Nanami brutally beats down Haruta, methodically erasing each one of his 6 miracles, and after doing so, Nanami takes Momo and Akari back to Shoko and begins his path to reach Team Naobito. Back to Todo, he's on his way through the station when he runs into Choso. It's now time for Choso versus Todo. Now this is a hotly debated fight in the JJK community, so I'm just going to present some of the facts and key factors of this matchup. The first train station room where this fight begins is spacious and would be very helpful for Boogie Woogie. Todo also has experience with some techniques of blood manipulation as a fellow classmate of Kamo. Todo will also get the tip from Mechamaru to head to the bathroom and set off the sprinklers. However, once this fight reaches the bathroom, there is not a lot of room to Boogie Woogie, which will hinder Todo. Choso himself has a plethora of blood-related attacks that he can use at his disposal, unlike Kamo, and also unlike Kamo, his blood is poisonous. So if any of his blood-related attacks hit Todo, that will most certainly spell the end of the fight for him. In a straight-up brawl, this fight becomes interesting. Both of these men are super durable, but they also hit extremely hard. We see that Choso is able to take around 3 solid blows from Yuji during their encounter, and it strongly affects him. We know that Todo is weaker than Yuji, but barely. Todo is still an extremely hard puncher. So, those are the facts. For the video's sake, I'm going to say that Todo wins this matchup so we can continue, but if you guys think Choso would win, I'm not going to disagree with you. After Todo defeats Choso, the twins, Nanako and Mimiko, reveal themselves. Mimiko holds up her phone at Todo as she explains that she needs to know where Yuji Itadori is so he can help them. Todo immediately confesses to them that Yuji is his brother. but he isn't in Shibuya right now. The twins drop to their knees in defeat. Feeding Yuji the Sukuna finger they had in their possession was their one opportunity to help free Geto from Kenjaku's control. Through tears, they explain to Todo this very fact, and Todo tells them the location of Shoko's healing station and reassures them that they will defeat Kenjaku. The twins head off as Todo continues down the subway. Finally, Nanami finds his way to Team Naobito, uniting with Mai, Naoya, and Naobito. The four sorcerers discuss the plan moving forward and continue their descent into the station where they run into Dagon. Dagon cries for Hanami and becomes enraged when he realizes of her death, which allows him to awaken into his true form. It is now time for Nanami, Naobito, Naoya, and Mai versus Dagon. And just like Todo versus Choso, I'm just going to present you with some stats and facts. First off, Mai is a complete non-factor in this fight. She really can't do anything to hurt Dagon, and Dagon would easily dispose of her. Naobito and Naoya are an interesting case, however. They are both extremely fast and smart sorcerers, capable of speed blitzing Dagon. However, just like in the original Shibuya incident, they are unaware that Dagon does not need to use his hands to pop his domain expansion, meaning that if Nanami, Naobito, and Naoya don't end this fight quickly, they'll most certainly end up in Dagon's domain. Once in Dagon's domain, this fight becomes a whole different ballgame. Mai will probably be killed by Dagon's sure hit effect with no useful technique or curse tool to defend herself. Nanami will be able to hold his own for a little bit, but the sure hit can become overwhelming after a short while and cause some serious damage. Now here's something interesting. We know that Naobito has Falling Blossom Emotion, which is a domain counter that we see him use in his actual encounter with Dagon, so he will of course use that here. Naoya is our most interesting case, because what he does here is pure speculation. We never see Naoya have to battle somebody with a domain expansion in the manga, so we don't know for a fact if he has any anti-domain techniques. However, I think that it's safe to assume that Naoya would also have Falling Blossom Emotion, something that his father, Naobito, and Uncle Ogi also had. We also see in the original encounter that once Naobito pops his Falling Blossom Emotion, Dagon focuses 70% of his Shikigami onto him, realizing that Naobito is his strongest foe. Regardless of if Naoya has Falling Blossom Emotion or not, Dagon just can't focus 70% of his Shikigami onto just one person this time around because of how strong both Naoya and Naobito are. So this is an interesting matchup. Comment down below who you guys think would win this one, but regardless of outcome, all of these characters are out of the scenario after this point. We now check in with Kusakabe and Miwa, exploring around Shibuya having a grand old time when they are suddenly confronted by Toshihisa Negi and Manami Suda, two of Geto's former commanders. Kusakabe tries to avoid this fight, but Negi insists. Now this is a matchup that is completely speculatory, as we do not know the curse technique of Negi or Manami, but I think it's safe to assume that Kusakabe would beat these two. Obviously, Miwa is with Kusakabe here, and she probably couldn't hold her own against these two, but Kusakabe should be able to win this fight whilst keeping her safe. While all of this is happening, we check back up with Kamo and Ino, who have reached the bottom of Shibuya Tower. The two are on their way to Shoko's healing station when they run into Haruta. Now this matchup should be a quick and easy one, as Haruta only has one life remaining after his encounter with Nanami. Kamo and Ino should make quick work of him and continue the path towards Shoko's station. While on their way, however, they encounter a second roadblock. Kusakabe and Miwa, fresh off of their fight with Negi and Manami, and unluckily for them, they've also got another fight to go through, and this one won't be as easy. It's time for Kusakabe, Miwa, Kamo, and Ino versus Jogo. Now once again, let's go over this matchup by breaking down the facts. Kusakabe is the strongest grade 1 sorcerer out there, according to Gojo and Friends, and we saw this fact in action in chapter 254 when Kusakabe straight up threw hands with a Heian-era Sukuna who was blessed by the sparks. Yeah, Kusakabe is no joke. He also has a simple domain to use if Jogo ends up popping his domain expansion. Miwa also has a simple domain, but Jogo will one-shot her before it even gets to that point. Ino and Kamo also have some relatively strong attacks to use in this matchup, but one strong hit or domain expansion from Jogo should take them out of action relatively quickly. What this matchup really boils down to is Jogo versus Kusakabe, and pre-chapter 254, I would think that Jogo would absolutely wash Kusakabe, but now it's definitely a much more competitive matchup. I still think Jogo takes it, but comment down below what you think as we head into the home stretch of this scenario. Todo continues down the subway where he meets the final boss of all Shibuya scenarios, Mahito. Now this matchup is an interesting one because there's two stages to this fight. Stage 1 being just a classic 1v1 between Mahito and Todo. Heading into Shibuya, Todo knows of Mahito as the patch-face curse that Yuji dealt with previously, so he'll know not to get touched by Mahito or it'll mean his demise. Just like in actual Shibuya, Todo should be able to use his Boogie Woogie technique pretty effectively in this matchup, at least in the early stages, to confuse Mahito. Now, this is just speculation, but it's the way I see things. Mahito won't be as strong in this fight than he was in actual Shibuya. In this scenario, Mahito hasn't killed Nanami or Nobara, and he also hasn't broken Yuji's resolve. And in my opinion, those are the things that allowed Mahito to hit several black flashes and awaken. He also won't be able to pop a 0.2 second domain expansion in this matchup because he isn't strong enough. I also believe that Todo wasn't able to pop his simple domain in time in actual Shibuya because of 1, Mahito popping a 0.2 domain expansion, and 2, his slight hesitancy and shock of Mahito even popping a domain when it would touch Sukuna's soul. I think Todo and Mahito would be a competitive matchup and we would end up reaching stage 2 of the fight. Of course, in the actual Shibuya incident, this is when Todo actually arrived and helped Yuji in his fight against Mahito. Now, it would be kind of redundant to have Yuji show up here and just repeat the same fight that happened in actual Shibuya, so I decided to have a different Tokyo student show up, Megumi Fushiguro. I think that this is a super fun matchup to discuss. Megumi and Todo versus Mahito. Like we established earlier, I think it's safe to assume Mahito is weaker than he was in actual Shibuya, but that doesn't mean he's an easy fight, not even close. However, now with Megumi's inclusion, he brings 2 more cards to the table. His domain, Chimera Shadow Garden, can at least tug of war with Mahito, stopping the instant death that comes with a Mahito domain pop. And the second thing he brings is his 10 Shadows technique. Think of the Boogie Woogie possibilities with Megumi's Shikigami. Todo switching with Megumi's hundreds of rabbits would be a crazy attack that Mahito would be forced to deal with. However, the big kicker here is Todo and Megumi are 2 people that can't hurt Mahito's soul. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the only way that they can win this fight is if they fight Mahito long enough to run him out of cursed energy. However, the last thing to mention with this matchup is the fact that we know what happens when Megumi thinks he's about to die. So if at any point in this matchup things go south, we might see the appearance and the loss of many grade 1 sorcerers like Nanami, Naoto, Naoya, and Kusakabe. If you believe that Todo and Megumi win, it's a huge win. And assuming these 2 don't go ahead and run into a surviving Dagon or Jogo, they should end up leaving Shibuya alive. That was what would happen if the Kyoto kids were at Shibuya instead of the Tokyo kids. Obviously, there are some devastating differences here, with almost all of the Kyoto kids dying and the disaster curses surviving, but on the flip side, there was no summoning of Sukuna, and Shibuya did not get hit with a malevolent shrine, so tell me what you guys thought of this video. I'd love to know down below. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this, and have a wonderful day.